Hello, I'm Dr. Will Keim, and it's an honor to be with you today in post-senior day at Miramonte High School in Orinda, California. You're actually in my study, and I would have come down and been with you, but tonight we have our softball banquet, and then tomorrow we go to the All-League selection. I assist my daughter, who's the head coach of Corvallis High School in Corvallis, Oregon, and we've got to go fight for the 5 girls we nominated. So I will be with you in spirit and on video, and thank you very much for inviting me to post-senior day. I want to thank Lori Jaffe and her daughter Sabra, who I met last year at Whitman College, where Sabra was a freshman. Lori heard me speak, and she called me up and said, "I don't suppose you'd come down to a high school?" I said, "Sure, I'll speak at a high school." She told me when the date was, and I said, "I can't be there, but I'll put it on video through Horsepower Productions. We'll do a nice job." And that's what we're doing today. I'm thrilled that you've gotten through high school. We don't make it easy on you, do we? And the problem I have with high school is this. We ring a bell every 43 minutes. We tell you what to go. You're a junior, then you're a senior, you're a freshman, you're a sophomore. And since you were in kindergarten, we've been telling you what's next. And now you've accomplished the mission. And now, after telling you what to do for 12 years, we say, what do you want to do? And a lot of you go, what? Now, I know 98% of you are going off to college, go Mats, but the reality is this. Now you have to decide. And here's the kicker. Here's what I want you to think about as you get ready to leave high school and go to college. We're weeding out a lot of people who kind of drifted through high school. And even though you went to a good high school that was well funded in a great part of the United States, I went to University of Pacific. We had guys on our team who went to high school in Orinda. I won't mention it, but it was Camp, Brand X. But the reality is, in high school, some of you just used 2 of your 4 jet engines to get by. You really didn't have to push yourself because you're so darn smart, and your parents raised you right, and you had great teachers, and you really didn't have to apply yourselves because you're so darn smart. But here's the kicker. Those of you like that are going on to schools where everybody's going to be smart, and the professors aren't going to dumb it down. And all of a sudden, after 12 years of us telling you what to do, now we're going to go, what do you want to do? And your mom's not going to get you up at 8. Your dad's not going to fix your favorite meal. Grandma's not going to come over and do your clothes. You're going to find yourself in an environment in which you have to take charge of your life. And fortunately for you, over the last 25 years, I have spoken to 3 million students on 3,000 of the nation's 4,000 campuses. I have a ton of corporate clients that have helped me understand what you need to do to make the transition between high school, college, and the rest of your life. And there's just 5 things I want you to do. And Mats, listen, if you do these 5 things for me, things are going to go great. You're going to wind up in 4 years, not 5, not 6, with a college degree. You're going to have your diploma in one hand and your self-esteem in the other, and you'll be unstoppable. So thank you for inviting me to post-senior day at Miramonte High School. I hope this information is helpful, and I'll be sending down some cards for Lori this week. They'll arrive on Thursday. I know you're graduating close to the weekend. I'm going to give you each a card with the notes from this presentation and my contact information. If I can help any of you as you make the transition, either between high school and college or college and graduate school or the rest of your life, let me know and I'll do whatever I can, because I'm going to grow old in a world you're in charge of. I'm paying it forward right now. I don't want you pulling the plug on me when I'm old. I want you to come visit me and remember that I gave it to you when you were young. I want you to pay it back when I get old by just pretending that I'm still making sense. And by the way, when I wet myself, call one of my kids. They'll change me. 5 things I want you to do for me. Number 1, I want you to use the greatest organ that God has put in your body, and that's your brain. Now, women, Hollywood and New York keep telling you that there's other organs in your body that are more important. They're wrong. They're trying to sell you something. And fellas, Hollywood, New York, and Madison Avenue keep telling you other things are important, like the kind of watch you have says a lot about the kind of person you are. No, it doesn't. It says a lot about how much money you have for a timepiece. The kind of car you drive says a lot about the kind of person you are. What do you like in men? In a recent commercial, what do you like about men? I like a man with no hair on his chest but a little on his back. Grow up. That's not life. I want you to use your brain, and I want you to think 4 thoughts before you do anything else the rest of your life. Number 1, I want you to identify your motive. Why am I doing this? When I see a college guy standing on a balcony in a residence hall urinating in public, I know he has failed to ask himself that question. When I see a young woman so drunk at a college football game, she's stumbling on the way to the game, hasn't even been to the game yet, I know she's failed to ask herself that question. When I see a student who's a gerontology major at college but never visits his or her own grandmother, I know they don't know why they're doing what they're doing. So before you act, ask yourself why. Number 2, is it legal? Is it according to policy? What could happen as a result? All the laws have changed. It's much tougher to be your age right now than it's ever been before. And I want you to ask yourself, why am I doing it? Number 2, is it legal? Does it make sense? Number 3, what are the consequences of my behavior? Some of you go up and ski at Heavenly Valley, maybe even you come up to Oregon to Mount Bachelor, maybe you go to Colorado to Breckenridge, you ski. And I know you have more fun than me skiing, and you know why? Because you're young and you don't envision as many consequences. Frankly, I'm old. And so when I ski at 270 pounds, I take big wide turns, big wide turns, big wide turns, because when you get this going down a mountain, it ain't easy to stop. You point your skis down the mountain because you didn't see the woman at Breckenridge hit the tree and blow herself up like one of Gallagher's watermelons. The reality is you have to ask yourself what could happen as a result. When I was in a fraternity, we'd steal the cop car on campus and drive around, and they'd pull us over and drive us home. Now you get a DUI. When I was in college, if we made a mistake in the areas of human sexuality, all you had to do was go see the doctor. Now you can go off campus in a body bag. It's called HIV and AIDS. All the rules have changed. And it's not that you're doing anything weirder than we did. It's just that the stakes of your mistakes are so much higher. Did you hear that? Focus on that. The stakes of your mistakes are so much higher. We had more latitude. When I was your age in high school at South Hills High School in Covina, California, when I was in high school, made in Japan and made in China meant that whatever it was a piece of junk. Now made in Japan, made in China, made in India, made in Sri Lanka means something totally different. I want you to envision the consequences of mediocrity. You know what they are? Moving home after you get done with college. I want you to, 1, ask yourself, why am I doing it? 2, is it legal? 3, what are the consequences? And 4, is it consistent with my moral principles? If you step over a homeless guy to tell somebody they're in the wrong religion, you've missed the point of your own religion. The homeless guy doesn't care who he gets a sandwich from. He doesn't go, wow, this is an atheist sandwich. I'd much rather have a Catholic sandwich. But, you know, if I could have a Lutheran sandwich, frankly, they'd rather probably have Jewish sandwiches because the Jews have better deli. And that is a stereotype that's based on fact. And if you don't believe me, go to New York City and you'll understand that's what's deli. The reality is, are you behaving consistently with your moral principles? Are you saying one thing and doing another? Did you tell your girlfriend you'd be faithful? Then be faithful. Did you tell your coach that you'd turn in the form and run 20 wind sprints? Then did you tell your parents you'll take care of yourself on senior night? Let me give you a little tip here on the side, no additional charge. And I guess since I'm not charging you for this, all I'm asking you to do is pay attention. You know what your parents' worst fear is? Do you know what they are? It's my worst fear every day. I have 4 children, a grandchild, and 1 about to be born any day now, number 2. And I'm going to tell you, my worst fear in life is that I'm going to outlive my children. Your parents don't go to bed every night going, boy, I hope we can catch Seth. I hope Janie screws up. I hope Tiffany Renee. I hope Juan. You know, your parents go to bed every night hoping to whatever they believe in that they're going to get up in the morning and get to see you again. So if you tell your parents on your little senior night, graduation night, you're going to take care of yourself, well, then be a man, be a woman, man up, woman up, and be a person of your word. That's called character. Why am I doing it? Is it according to policy? Is it legal? What are the consequences? And am I behaving totally appropriately based on who I see myself to be? Number 1, I want you to think. Number 2, I want you to feel. Now, frankly, I'm 60 years old. I'm a pretty funny guy. I'm about as hip as you can be at 60. That's what happens when you grow up in California. Okay? It's just the way it is. But I've got issues. Like, my real dad died 3 months before I was born. Like, my stepfather was an alcoholic. Like, I was sexually molested when I was 8 years old and again when I was 14. Now, I'm a funny guy, but I've got issues, and so do you. And so, number 2, I want you to feel the pain of people around you. If you knew some of the stuff your classmates have gone through to get to graduation, you'd all stop this tape right now and give each other a hug. It's amazing. And by the way, congratulations. You guys are survivors. And I want to tell some of you that have been beaten around by life a little bit like me, we can handle stuff some of the other kids have only read about in their psychology textbooks. If it didn't kill you, it made you stronger. But you've got to be able to feel the pain of what it's like to be someone else and have some empathy for them. It's called empathy. Native Americans didn't say don't judge somebody till you walked 1,000 miles in their moccasins. It's more accurately said don't judge somebody till you've walked 1,000 moons in their moccasins, meaning 1,000 moons, 1 a month. Don't judge people. I don't think I could go back to high school right now. I walk down the halls and I look at the way people that are gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual are talked about, the kids that are a little bit heavy. I've lost 142 pounds in just a little over 11 months. and I watch the way the heavy kids are scoffed at, the people that maybe have glasses like I wear because they can't see, that, you know, we need to let that go, and we need to feel other people's pain. We got to think, use our brain, but also, number two, feel, use our heart. Number three, I want you to get active. I want you to get busy. I want you to make sure you stop in and thank that teacher who stepped up for you. I want you to thank that coach. I want you to thank your parents. You think there's some class for this? You know what? You tell me. We're not going to make the same mistakes our parents made. You know what I say? You're right. You'll invent stuff we never even dreamed of. And the cool thing about me is that I get to be the grandparents to my children, the experts' children, and watch them struggle. Man, this is hard stuff, and you're all going to know that probably within 10 years. The reality is, I want you guys to get active. Thank some people. Forgive some people. When you go to the university, sit in the front row. Take notes. Take them home at the end of the day, recopy them in outline form. Meet every professor. Make sure they're grading a human being and not just a social security number, especially those of you that go to the big land-grant or big universities. You got to make that extra special effort. The reality is that you got to get active on your campus. Join a club. Get into the band. Go out for theater. Join a fraternity or sorority, try out for intramurals, intercollegiate athletics, whatever it is, but you've got to involve, because 30 years of studies in the American Council on Education prove that the more involved you are on campus, the higher sense of belonging you have there, and the greater likelihood that you will stay. I want you to get active right now, thanking people and making the transition. And I'm going to tell you something. You're all ready to get out of Orinda. You're ready to get out from under the oppressive thumb of your parents in that high school that didn't understand your brilliance. Let me tell you something. You can't arrive where you're going on the back of a stallion if you leave where you're at on the back of an ass. And that means you got to leave with dignity. Don't burn any bridges in case you have to retreat. But I want you to get active right now, making sure that you conclude your senior year with all the grace and dignity that you can manifest. And the people that didn't treat you well, let it go. My coach friend John Baxter, who coaches football at the University of Southern California, Coach Bax, who took Fresno State from being one of the worst graduation rates in the country to third in the nation behind Stanford and Duke. Coach Baxter has a word he tells guys when they complain. You know what it is? FIDO. F-I-D-O. Forget about it. Drive on. Forget about it. Drive on. Let it go. And you can't fly with wings like eagles if you're still mad at your mom and dad for something that happened when you were in 6th grade. FIDO. Forget about it. Drive on. Get active. Take charge of your life and drive the vehicle that is the car of your life, whatever direction you want it to be. What a great time of your life this is. Congratulations on finishing this important part of it by being a high school graduate. Number 4, I've asked you, remember, to think, to feel, to act. Number 4, I want you to be hopeful. Quit listening to people my age, unless we make sense as I am now. I know there's some irony there. But quit listening to people my age that tell you, you know what's wrong with people your age? You know what I'd say? I didn't ask. And you know what they'll say? Shut up. Why, when I was your age, we used to walk 10 miles to school, 10 miles back, uphill both ways. There was 20 feet of snow on the ground. Didn't you live in Phoenix then? Shut up, son. We were so poor we didn't have shoes in which not to have soles. We used to eat the bark off of trees for breakfast. Why, when I was your age, we didn't even have gravity. Well, how'd you stay on the planet then, Dad? Shut up, son. Here's the deal. One of my favorite fraternity brothers, my fraternity is Delta Upsilon International Fraternity, is a guy by the name of Kurt Vonnegut. Kurt Vonnegut, I hope those of you that love to read and write know Kurt Vonnegut. The rest of you, Google him up. The reality is Kurt Vonnegut, right before he died, wrote a beautiful essay for Rolling Stone magazine in which he said, I am sick and tired of middle-aged baby boomers labeling every generation that comes after them. This generation, he was talking about you, and you, and you, all of you. This generation, he said, is as much Generation A as Adam and Eve were. This is your time. Why would you listen to somebody tell you, oh, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. Oh, you're not going to have a great future. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not Nostradamus, but I'm going to tell you this. I do know one thing for sure. This is the only time you're going to get. Your time, John Mellencamp said, your time is now. This is your time. This is your life. Why not try to create a masterpiece? Do you understand right now you're getting ready to set the banquet table for the glorious feast you're going to eat the rest of your life? Do you understand that thank goodness people didn't listen, oh, Hitler's taken over Europe, we better learn to speak German. Thank God they didn't go, well, Alexander the Great, he's conquered almost everything, let's give up. Thank God our great-grandparents, your great-grandparents, my grandparents didn't say, oh, the Depression, we're always going to, be poor. The reality is we go through tough times, but we're resilient. As we've seen recently in Oklahoma, with a tremendous outpouring of love and concern for the victims of the tornadoes. As we saw in Florida with the hurricanes, in Oregon one time, we had a giant rainstorm following some snow. It snowed for about 2 days, then it warmed up, and we had rivers flooding. We had 3,500 cattle. We have a huge dairy industry in Oregon at Tillamook, makes great ice cream. Make sure to buy some. We need the money here. 3,000 cows floated out to sea. And you know what the dairy farmers in Wisconsin did? They shipped 3,500 cattle here on their own expense. No charge to replace those cattle because they knew they were part of something larger than themselves. 3 years later, they had a big snow in Wisconsin and they had 3,000 cattle die, and the Oregon dairymen shipped them back. Why does it take a tragedy? Why does it take a plane falling out of the sky? Why does it take a heinous act to make us realize that we are all interconnected? We are all interconnected, and I really want you to be hopeful about that. I'm so excited to grow old in a world you're in charge of, because you know what I learned last week? My phone is actually a computer. Did you know this? My phone is actually a computer. I didn't know that. When I can't get my DVD on in my house, I have to call my son. He comes home from college to fix it. Your computer skills scare the hell out of people my generation. You don't see the limits my generation. I'm excited. I think you're going to come up with a cure for cancer. I think you're going to be able to figure out a way to get Republicans and Democrats to talk to each other. Wouldn't that be a novel idea? I think you're going to be able to figure out a way to disperse food around the world so we don't live in so much abundance and people in the third world are starving. Some of you go to church. Not all of you. It doesn't matter to me. That's your business. But we got a prayer in my church that says, give us this day our daily bread. You know what we say when we say that in America? You know what we mean? Give us this day our daily bread, low fat, low carb, whole grain. When they say that prayer in the third world, they're serious. Give us this day just something to eat. I want you to really think about it, and I want you to be hopeful. This is the time when you set the banquet table for the great things that are going to happen. And I'm going to send you a card with my note. If I can help you, you call me. You think I'm full of it? You call me, and I'll help you. And some of you are so weird. You get excited about math. I don't get it. Some of you, call and go, I want to study neurophysics. One little girl from UCLA, I'll never forget her. She was a pole vaulter. And I said, call me if I can help you. She came up after her. She goes, I don't suppose you know anybody at the Harvard Medical School. Well, when you can clear 14 feet, you should feel pretty good about yourself. And I said, oh, Harvard Medical School. How about Dr. Augustus White III, the only black professor of surgery at Harvard? Would that do? I've got recommendations in my file from Lou Holtz. Some of you know him as the former coach of Notre Dame, now an ESPN commentator. Ross Perot and I spoke together at the United States Air Force Symposium on Character and Leadership. I've got some friends, and I'll do whatever I can. I'll open doors for you, but you've got to do your part. You've got to think. You've got to think. You've got to feel. You've got to act. You've got to hope. You've got to be ready. I can't afford to cash in my personal reputation if you can't deliver the goods once I open the door for you. But you get yourself prepared, and I'll open any door I can for you. Again, selfishly, because I'm going to grow old in a world you're in charge of, and I want you to do better than my generation has done. And lastly, number 5, Mats, I want you to hear me. And this is going to sound really corny to you, and it doesn't really matter to me because I know who I am. Okay, I know who loves me. I know I'm the richest man in this town. I don't have any money. I worry about my next house payment. But I got a house full of loves, 4 children that respect me. My wife and I have been married 33 years. She tells people it's the happiest 10 years of her life. And my granddaughter, because she's only 2, thinks I'm a god. I told her the other day I could speak every language. And I sang It's a Small World from Disney World in every language. Not really, but she doesn't know. Later on, she'll find out, Grandpa's kind of full of it too. But number 5, if I ask you, over there, if I asked you for a really cool shirt, you could give me one. Great shirt, by the way. If I ask, hey, you over there, if I ask you for something to drink, you could give me one because you've got it. If I ask you for something to write with, you, third row, you could give it to me. But here's the deal. If I ask you for love and respect, and you hate and loathe and disrespect yourself, how the hell can you give me something you don't have? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? You can't give to me. You can't love someone else until you love yourself. Now, I'm not asking you to become a narcissist or an egomaniac and put a little mirror on the ceiling so you can watch yourself gargle at night. But I'm going to tell you, a lot of you beat each other up, beat yourselves up. You made a mistake 6 years ago. You don't let it go. You hold people to a higher standard. I gave a sermon one time in my church, and it was called, I want a just God for you. I want a forgiving God for me. Do you understand the difference? I want you to get everything you've got coming to you. I'm hoping I get better. The reality is that you need to realize you're going to graduate from high school. There's a lot of people in this country that don't. Okay? You're going to go on to college or the military or a job or the community. You're going to get a trade. The reality is from now on, you're in charge. And because you bothered to have this video for post-senior day, you can't blame Miramonte High School. You can't blame Lori Jaffe. You can't blame Dr. Wilkheim. You can't say my counselors never told me. I'm telling you right now, you are setting the banquet table for the glorious feast you're going to eat the rest of your life, and you are going to do things that people that have come before you never dreamed of. I'm driving down the road the other day in Los Angeles on my way to give a speech, and there's a billboard up, and I grew up in LA. I can drive those freeways, and I look at the billboard, and it said, the baby who's going to live to be 150 years old was born today. Wow. 95% of the scientists that have ever lived are alive right now. The information in the world is doubling and tripling every 1 to 1.5 years. Who knows what great things we're going to be able to do? And you need to get yourself ready, okay, by going to college or getting a trade and setting the banquet table for the glorious feast you're going to eat the rest of your life. Congratulations on your graduation from Miramonte High School. Good luck in your future. If I can help, be in touch. Lori, thanks for getting this together. Thanks to Horsepower Productions for doing this for us on short notice. God bless each one of you. And lastly, go Mats.